So the Croods takes place millions of years ago, but how would you say that they're a modern family?
Well, I think they sort of follow a similar archetype to any family you'd find today. The same dynamics are in place. You have the dad who's sort of got this kind of like, antiquated view on the world and like how it should be, and he's trying to keep his family safe. His heart is in the right place, but his mind isn't, and he wants them all to stay exactly where they are in time and space. But I could see exactly how modern fathers are that protective today as well. I mean, they don't want their daughter to leave the house, let alone date, and that's what's happening in this movie. And
Definitely. So can you talk a little bit about how your characters changed over the process of the recordings, and maybe if there was anything that you learned about your characters over those?
I think as time went on, my character had a lot to say and then less to say, and then she became the narrator, which wasn't the idea. The beginning and the end wasn't in there when I first recorded, which I loved the narration that was added in, and the explanation of who the Croods are and who they are in regards to their surroundings and their other families around them. And physically she changed a lot. But and I changed her voice a few times. How about yours?
I think Guy changes quite a bit. I mean, Guy, when we meet him, is he's a guy who's on his own and doesn't have any family to speak of or anything like that. But he's somewhat evolved. He learns how to. He's quite articulate in the world of survival. Like he can start a fire. He can do all these other things that the Croods can't, and that's just because out of necessity. So, yeah, but as we carry on in the story, we see that he's actually quite lonely, that he's lost his family, and he needs these people more than they need him, I think, to some degree.
Mm-hmm. So, as far as major themes in the film, one of them is, of course, the need to adapt to that change. So, do you have an example of maybe how your character does that?
I don't have a readily available example. Do you?
Of how our characters adapt to the change in the world?
I don't know.
I think there's lots of firsts throughout the movie, and Guy provides a lot of those. First shoes, we go on the first road trip, and then Grug has his whole sequence of firsts and new ideas. So I think they do it just out of necessity for the most part. I think a lot of times people don't really change until they literally have to, or their life is going to fall apart. So the world is literally falling to pieces, so they kind of have to. Their cave is no more, so they have to change in a way. Mm-hmm. I don't know what that answer was. It kind of went like this. I
felt like you stuck the landing personally.
And then it came back. Thank you. Put a little button on it.
Made sense to me.
Okay.
Our last question is, obviously it's a very beautiful film. Are there any aspects of it that really impressed you or that you liked in particular?
Well, I think any time a filmmaker does something wonderful, it's like they've created a world in which you really want to live in, and I think this world and its multiple sort of terrains that we kind of go through as the Croods journey forward is pretty amazing. I mean, it's, they created probably one of the few 3D films that I think really, really, truly warrants 3D. I mean, it's that treatment is incredible. I mean, what they did with Roger Deakins, who consulted on the film, was a huge DP. I mean, he just created a beautiful world. So I love that. I love seeing the animals and the creatures and all these different, things that these lunatics over at Dreamworks invented.
Lunatics.
Yeah, lunatics.
Insane.
Quote me.
It's insane.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Well,
Thank you.